All right. Well, when I was in high school, I had, I was fortunate enough to win a state championship. Won a state championship whenever I was a junior in high school. My freshman year, we made it to the state championship game. We're state runner-up. We got beat. I was a freshman that year, and I actually started the championship game on the mound and got beat. And I remember telling myself when I walked off the mound that if I ever get to this opportunity again, this will not happen to me again. I will make sure that we win. And my junior year, we got that opportunity again, and we won, and it was just kind of something that stuck with me. And I was, one thing about the game of baseball, there's a lot of luck involved. I played really well in front of the right people, and when you get that opportunity, you try to capitalize on it. And my parents were tremendous in me getting older and taking me and giving me those opportunities. If I wouldn't have had those opportunities, I would have never went and played. My parents put me in a truck and drove me all over the country to all these showcase camps and allowed me to get seen. The first time LSU ever seen me was in Clemson, South Carolina, at a showcase camp after my sophomore season. And after I run the 60, they were like, "You're from Louisiana?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm only 2 hours from y'all. I had to drive 14 hours for you to see me." But, it took that type of dedication to get seen, and I did. And the stars aligned, and I was able to play down there. And then when I come in as a freshman, and it was 17 incoming freshmen whenever I got there. I was probably number 17 on the depth chart, and of the 17 freshmen, I was one of the only ones that played every single day. I got almost 200 at-bats that year. I was a freshman All-American. I was SEC Freshman of the Year. Had an unbelievable freshman year. Then I moved on to my sophomore year. And that's when I started realizing the pressures of playing at LSU. We had a great freshman year, and then my sophomore year, I was still hitting 300. I just wasn't hitting 370, and every day in the paper, like, what's wrong with Holt? What's he doing? What's going on? And then I started hitting that first actual bump of adversity in the road was my sophomore year of college. And I was like, man, I'm still hitting 300, I'm hitting 300 on the dot, but I'm still doing all right. But then I started realizing, okay, it takes a special human being to be able to play here. Am I going to be that guy? And I left and I went to Cape Cod that summer, and I made some adjustments in my swing, mainly made adjustments in my head, and decided that, I'm going to grind this out. I went up to the Cape Cod League. I was MVP of the Cape Cod League. I actually got inducted into the Hall of Fame there this past year. Won the batting title, had a 21-game hit streak. It was the highest batting average in the last 20 years in that league. And it was all wooden bat, all done with a wooden bat. And every day there was 15 scouts in the stands, and I did that over a 2-month period. So my junior year comes around, and I have an unbelievable junior year. I'm an All-American. I had 396. Had an outstanding year. Everything went right for me. I got to go to the College World Series twice. We didn't win it either time I went out there, but I've been to Omaha and got to play a lot of games in front of a lot of big people. But the Braves selected me in the 3rd round of the draft, and I left Omaha in June, middle of June, and a week later I went from playing in front of 40,000 people to playing in front of about 30 people in rookie ball in Danville, Virginia. And it was an awesome experience. Has anybody ever seen the movie Bull Durham? It captures the minor league life as best as you could capture it. I got there, I left LSU from flying everywhere in the SEC or riding an air-conditioned bus with sleepers in it, and to riding a bus, me sitting beside another guy with no air condition and riding for 13 hours and getting up and playing a doubleheader the next day. It was definitely a wake-up. My first professional check in minor league baseball for 2 weeks' pay was $385. And I got a signing bonus, but at the same time, you feel bad for those guys that aren't as fortunate as me and get drafted in the 30th round and they don't get that signing bonus. You're eating sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly, man, become your best friend, and you're trying to pay rent, pay clubhouse dues, and tip the guy that's doing your cleats with $385 every 2 weeks in rookie ball. So it was definitely an eye opener. You got to love the game. You know, everybody sees the glitz and glamour on TV of the guys making multi-millions on ESPN every day, but they don't know the story behind that guy getting to that position, what he went through to get there. They think they just showed up and they're on TV and they're playing. They have no idea the day in and day out grind of playing 150 games a year, and that's not counting spring training games. You're getting 1 day off a month. You're playing 7 days a week, 7 days a week. You get 1 day off a month. And usually that 1 day's a travel day, so you're usually traveling on that 1 day off. So it's not like you get a lot of leeway time or a lot of time to just hang out, spend your life out of a suitcase. And I was fortunate enough to do that for 9 years. I played pro ball for 9 years and, you know, made it to AAA. I tore both my ACLs. You know, towards the end of my career, it was hard for me to stay healthy. You know, if I didn't tear them, I may still be playing, you know, but who knows? You know, you don't play those what-if games.
You said you tore both ACLs.
I did. There's both of them. There's a scar right there, and then there's the other one right there. The left one I actually did in high school playing basketball, and then my right one I did in 2010 and in Columbus, Ohio, while I was in AAA. And after that, I tried to come back early, spent another year in the minors, and you know, when they start calling you old at 30, it's time to do something a little different. So I walked away from it at just short of my 30th birthday, and I've been at Menard ever since. Well, I mean, as an athlete, you know, if you perform, at the times I went back and looked at the times when I've performed at a high level, you know, you start thinking of what you did during those times and how you approached it mentally, and you know, you start learning. The great thing about playing professional baseball is you get to learn from a lot of great people. People have done it for a long time. I was fortunate enough to be able to listen to Chipper Jones and guys like that talk about hitting and talk about how they approach things mentally, and it's just stuff that immerses you in it. You know, we talked about the time about the yips. You know, I've seen professional athletes, you know, grown men, not be able to throw the ball to first base or not be able to throw the ball back to the pitcher, and it's a disease. You know, it's like a mental disease, and people get it, and it ends their careers, and they just can't get over it. And my experience with that was, you know, in a big league spring training game, you know, we had a strikeout, and you know, they're throwing the ball around, and I'm playing second, and I grabbed the ball, and there's 15,000 people at the game, and you know, I overthrew Chipper standing at third, you know, and he looks at me and he's like, "Hey, hit me in the chest. I don't jump, Bubba. Hit me right here," you know. He's like, "I don't," you know, he doesn't reach. And it's not like I overthrew him by a lot. He just doesn't, you know, he's like, "Hey, ball went about right here." And he was like, "Hey, you know, I'm not reaching for that." And it got me to thinking, you know, I was like, wow, you know, here's a guy that's, you know, makes $20 million a year. He's the face of our franchise. I mean, he's on every billboard in Atlanta. He's, you know, been here for a long time. He's the only switch hitter to hit 300 from both sides. And all this is running through my mind after I've overthrew him, and he's like, "Hey, I ain't reaching for that," you know. And so it goes through my mind, and then you got Smoltz is on the mound and all these older veterans, and you're like, man, I kind of embarrassed myself right there, you know. So, you know, the next one, you know, strike out, you know, we go to throwing around, and I throw the other one, and it's kind of just left, and he catches it, and he looks at me, he's like, "In the chest, man." So I started hitting the panic button a little bit. So the quickest way I could really come up with anything to off-center my mind, I was like, I got to stop thinking about it, and I just got to throw it. And so I just started singing a song in my head. So the next time come around, I did it, and I just cut it loose and didn't think about it. I hit him in the chest, and he was like, yeah, you know. And then that was my only brief, and I've seen people that have had it far worse. And, you know, one of my players was one of them whenever we got here, as we talked about earlier. And my biggest thing that I've learned over the last couple months is that me being able to sing that song in my head is, you know, TEA, what we talked about earlier in the book. You know, your thoughts, you know, got to control the emotion. The emotional brain takes over, and that's the part where my emotional brain was starting to take over my thought process, because I was starting to be like, okay, well, I'm not performing like I should. Everybody's looking at me. What am I doing? You know, this, that, and the other. And, you know, I had to regulate my emotions. And the only way that I was able to do that was to off-center my brain by singing. And I was able to do that, and I corrected it, and my action was what I wanted. So I didn't understand that. You know, it was something that I just did, and it was quick, but I really didn't know how to put that into words. And over the last couple months, it has helped me to better coach kids to understand, to get the action that they want, how to be able to regulate that.